Hey guys, Sean here at the Gardener Center. So it couldn't possibly smell, look, or feel any more like Christmas in our nursery than it does right now. So I figure this is the perfect opportunity to share some tips and advice for you guys regarding fresh or live cut Christmas trees. We sell boatloads of them here at the store, and we are very close to be selling lots of them. The season is just beginning. So I wanted to share some tips with you for selecting your tree and also for keeping your tree happy, healthy, and most importantly, safe while it's in the house during the holiday season. Before I get into any of that though, I just want to take a second to mention to you guys, don't feel guilty about buying a fresh cut Christmas tree. Every year I talk to people, and I already had a lady earlier this week who feel guilty about buying fresh cut Christmas trees because they're cut down and thrown away. If you're an environmentalist, if you're a green person, if you're into sustainability and things like that, live fresh cut Christmas trees are actually the green way to go. These trees are grown commercially in North America. They're grown the same way that people grow corn or soybeans or wheat. They are replenished every single year, believe me. And it takes about 10 to 12 years for a little Christmas tree seedling to grow to like a 7 to 8 foot tree that like you see here next to me. And during that 10 years, what are these hundreds of thousands of acres of Christmas trees in North America doing? Well, they're providing oxygen, they're cleaning the air, and they're providing a wildlife refuge for many animals and birds throughout the winter months because they're evergreen. And then afterwards, we turn them into compost, we turn them into mulch, feed them to our goats. There's a lot of organic good ways to get rid of them when you're done, as opposed to an artificial Christmas tree that's made out of petroleum products, and maybe that'll last you 10 or 12 years, but then it's going to take 10 or 12,000 years to decompose in the landfill. So never ever feel guilty about buying a fresh cut Christmas tree. They are the green way to go, for sure. So as far as selecting your Christmas tree goes, Christmas trees usually show up a week or so before Thanksgiving. That's when you'll start seeing them out for sale. I like to keep Christmas trees in the house for 1 month. I think that's about the maximum time, 4 weeks in the house. So if you like to put them up on that weekend after Thanksgiving, maybe plan to take it down right after Christmas. I know when I was a kid growing up, my mom always took our Christmas tree down on New Year's Day, but we always put it up a little later, the week after Thanksgiving. So plan for 4 weeks in the house. When you're selecting your tree, everybody by now probably knows the pull on the branch trick, and you shouldn't have any green needles in your fingers or in your hand after you do that. So that's one way. If you guys have watched our previous videos, or maybe you get our newsletter, I've talked a few times in the past about seasonal leaf or needle drop on evergreens. Firs, spruces, pines, all of those trees that are typically used for Christmas also have seasonal needle drop. And those needles, of course, are always on the inside. The new growth is out here, the old growth is on the inside. So if you see brown needles inside your Christmas tree, or brown needles on the floor underneath the Christmas tree on the tree lot, that's no need to be concerned. That's seasonal needle drop. Green needles coming off, green needles on the floor, that's a red flag. But brown needles are okay. And usually the trees are handled so many times between being cut and put on the truck and driven to where they're going and unloaded and put away. Most of those needles usually shake off by the time you're buying your tree. But if you see any, just shake them off on the outside. Brown is good, green is bad as far as needle loss goes. The best advice I could give you for selecting your tree though, and this always surprises people and I don't know why, buy your tree early. Buy your tree very early in the season, as soon as they're available for sale. Even if you don't plan on putting it up until a week before Christmas, you're going to have a fantastic selection of trees to pick from, number one. And number two, and this is the important part, whether it's here at the Gardener Center or any other tree retailer, the trees just sit outside as is until they're sold. They're being preserved outside in the cold. You have an advantage to bringing your tree home early though, because you can pick the best tree, best selection, get a fresh cut done on your tree, or do one yourself. I'm going to talk about what that is in a minute. But get your tree home and put it in a 5-gallon bucket of water in your backyard, or ideally in an unheated garage. And now your tree's drinking while it's waiting to go inside the house, as opposed to just sitting on the tree lot like they are here, where they're being preserved by the cold outside, but they're not getting water right now. So if you take advantage of that, if you know you're buying a tree, don't wait until you're going to put it up. Buy it early and get it home, and keep it healthy and happy. So I just talked about, that's selecting your trees. I just mentioned putting a fresh cut on your tree. That's one of the most important things. This kind of surprises people every year. When you buy your tree, now remember, these trees were cut a few weeks ago. They normally start cutting trees in late October, early November. And trees, evergreens, if you ever handled them, they're kind of sticky and they're kind of resinous. So when a tree is cut, the tree itself reacts as though it's been wounded or it's lost a limb. So just like when we get a cut or something, we have our blood clots and that kind of solves itself. The trees do the same thing. As soon as they get cut, they seal that over. So when you buy your Christmas tree, it is critical, this isn't optional, it is absolutely critical that either we or whoever you're buying your tree from, or yourself when you get home, you have to make what's called a fresh cut on the bottom of the tree. Most tree retailers are going to do it for you. We'll certainly do it for you. And it's important that once that fresh cut is made, that the tree goes into water right away. So 3 or 4 hours tops, so you're going to have to get your saw out and do it again. And when I talk about a fresh cut, I'm talking about cutting the bottom here. And you're basically doing this. This is about an inch right here. So 1/2 inch minimum, 1 inch is better. And you can see the difference in the color here. This is where the tree was cut a couple weeks ago, and this is the fresh cut side here. So you can see how much brighter that is. So the fresh cut has to be done. And like I said, if you're going to buy your tree and you're going to bring it home and you're not ready to put it up, ideally, if you have a corner of an unheated garage, stick the tree in a 5-gallon bucket, lean it in the corner, and let it sit there until you're ready to bring the tree in the house. So fresh cut has to happen. 3 to 4 hours later, must be in water. That's important. While we're talking about the fresh cut, something you never want to do, and people ask us to do it all the time, is we have your trunk diameter here, and your tree stands are designed different sizes to handle different size trunk circumferences or diameters. So if you have a tree stand and your tree won't go in that stand because the trunk is too big, you do not want to, or do not ask, my guys aren't even allowed to, you do not want to shave off the bark and make a spike to put your tree in the stand. And the reason for that is, I'm going to go back to this guy again. The trees, as far as drinking goes, as far as water uptake, a lot of people think that this entire surface area is taking water up into the tree, but it's not. It's actually just the outer 1/2 inch of the trunk that's actually taking water up into the foliage of the tree. So if you shave the bark off to fit it into your stand, number one, your stand's too small and your tree's going to fall over. And number two, your tree's not going to drink because you're cutting off that outer layer where all the water uptake is happening. So that absolutely has to happen. So fresh cut, 3 to 4 hours before it goes in the water. Do not shave the bark off. That's definitely a no-no. And then as far as getting your tree in the house, ideally, it should be in a cooler room in the house. If you were placing it near a vent or maybe radiant heat boards, if you have a way to shut the vents, close the vents, or maybe shut the radiator off, or if you have, maybe you have different zones in your house where you can kind of turn it down a little bit in where your Christmas tree is, that's the best thing after you get your tree in the house. Another call we get a lot is, and when I say a lot, I mean almost every day, is we bought our tree yesterday, we put a fresh cut on it, and it's not drinking. So that's very common, especially when you're buying trees in cold weather. And let's face it, you're buying trees in November, December, it's cold. So what's happening there is, if your tree's been outside, especially if it's been outside in sub-freezing temperatures, it's gonna take a while for that tree to warm up to the point where it can take water up to the foliage. It's kind of like your car engine in the wintertime, you know, when it's really cold and the oil gets thick and you gotta let the car warm up for a few minutes before you really start driving. It's the same thing. So usually 24 to 36 hours, sometimes even 48 hours before you see water leaving the stand. If the tree was out in very cold weather while it thaws out, that's something that people get concerned about a lot, but it is perfectly normal for that to happen. And it's just because the tree's frozen and it just needs some time to thaw out. So don't be alarmed. If you go 2 or 3 days and you see any water going, then you might have an issue. But let the tree thaw out. Always give it at least 24 hours before you worry. And ideally, if you can get it in water and give it 24 hours before you put the lights and the decorations on, just in case you do get a dud, because nobody wants to decorate. Decorating the tree is fun, but no one wants to do it twice. So if you have the opportunity to get it in water a day or two before you're going to decorate it, that's even better. As far as the drinking of the water goes, though, once it does start drinking, you may notice that it drinks a whole lot of water very quickly. It may empty out its stand overnight the first couple of days. Once the tree's rehydrated, it should stabilize where you just kind of have to top off the stand every day. Let the kids do that. They love crawling around under things. So let the kids check the reservoir and put the water in. But other than that, your tree should be healthy, happy, and safe for 4 weeks. Guys, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.